So you're writing Python, which means you're writing functions all the time. But let me ask you this. Are your functions flexible? Today, we're going to unlock a couple of simple tricks that will seriously level up your code, making it way more powerful and readable. Let's jump right in. You know that feeling, right? You write a function and it's just so demanding. It needs every single argument every single time in the perfect order. One slip up and boom, error. It's a huge pain, but don't worry, we're about to fix that for good. So here's the game plan. We're going to learn how to make our arguments optional and how to call them by name. And we'll do that using two key ideas: default parameters and keyword arguments. Now, I know they might sound a little technical, but trust me, they're super simple and are going to completely change the way you write your functions. Okay, first things first, let's talk about making arguments optional. This is where the real magic happens with something called default parameters. Seriously, this is a total game changer for making your code so much easier to use. So what exactly is a default parameter? Think of it like a backup plan. You set a default value right when you create the function. You're basically telling Python, hey, if the person using this function doesn't give me a value for this argument, just use this one instead. No more crashes, just a smart, sensible backup. And just look at this comparison, it makes it so clear. On the left, you've got the old, rigid way. If you call greeting without a name, crash. It absolutely demands that argument. But on the right, by just adding that little equals user, we've given it a safety net. Now it works perfectly whether you give it a name or not. That's what I'm talking about. That's real flexibility. And of course, this isn't just for simple greet functions. Think about a real-world problem like a price calculator. Most of the time, an item probably doesn't have a discount, right? So we can just set discount equal to 0 as the default. That makes our function super easy to use for the most common situation, but it still has the power to handle discounts when they do pop up. All right, that was superpower number 1. Now for number 2, keyword arguments. If default parameters gave us flexibility, this one is all about making our code crystal clear and easy to read. So a keyword argument is, well, it's pretty much exactly what it sounds like. Instead of just throwing values at a function and hoping they land in the right order, you explicitly name the parameter you're setting. It's like putting a label on your data, creating a key equals value pair right there in the function call. And this example just nails why this is so awesome. Look at the left side. Ali, 20, Lahore. Okay, what's what? You have to know the order is name, age, city. It's so easy to mess up. But on the right, the order doesn't matter one bit. The code tells you exactly what's going on. Age equals 20, name equals Ali. There's no way to get that wrong. It's basically self-documenting code. Okay, so now we have these two awesome new tools in our toolbox. The next step is learning how to use them together. And more importantly, learning the one golden rule that you absolutely cannot break. And here it is, the big one. You have to remember that your regular positional arguments, the required ones, must come before any of your optional default arguments. Why? Because Python reads the function from left to right. It first fills in the blanks for the required stuff and only then does it look at the optional ones. So required stuff always goes first. This example shows exactly what I mean. On the left, trying to put a default argument, a equals 10, before a required one, b, it just breaks Python's brain. It has no idea how to handle that. But on the right, when you put the required argument a first and the default b equals 10 second, everything works perfectly. Just remember that order: required first, optional second. You'll save yourself so many headaches. Okay, enough theory. Let's get practical and see how all this stuff comes together in the real world to build some really elegant code. So let's picture this. We're building a function to book a plane ticket. Now, the one thing you absolutely need is the passenger's name, right? So that's our required argument. But let's be real. Most people fly economy and get the standard meal. So those are perfect candidates for our default values. Okay, now look how cool this is. Let's say Ishtiaq is booking a ticket. He's good with an economy seat, so we don't even have to specify that. The default takes care of it. But he needs a vegetarian meal. No problem. We just use a keyword argument to pinpoint the meal parameter and change only that one thing. Super clean, super precise. Or hey, maybe we need to specify everything. Let's say Ali is booking a business class ticket and doesn't want a meal. We can use keywords for everything. And look how readable that code is. There is absolutely no confusion about what's what. And remember, we could have typed those in any order and it would still work perfectly. All right, one last example, and it's one you've probably thought about building yourself, a function to send an email. The one thing you can't do without is the recipient, the to address. That's required. But let's face it, sometimes you just fire off a quick email and don't bother with a subject or a long message. So we can make those optional with some simple defaults. And this is the payoff for setting it up this way. For a quick and dirty email, all you have to do is provide the address. That's it. The function just uses the defaults we set up for the rest. So simple, so efficient. But what if it's a more important email? Well, that same exact function can handle it. We just add the subject and the message using those nice, clear keyword arguments. So you've got one single function that works perfectly for both the simple and the complex scenarios. That's what I call elegant code. Okay, so we've gone through all the how-to, but let's take a step back and talk about the why. What does this actually mean for you and your code? Let's quickly recap the new superpowers you've just picked up. Okay, so here's the bottom line. First, optional arguments just make your functions way easier and friendlier to use. Second, keyword arguments make your code practically self-explanatory, which is a lifesaver when you're working on a team or even when you look back at your own code 6 months from now. All of this means you write cleaner code. You don't need a bunch of slightly different functions to do similar things. And honestly, this is how seasoned developers write code. It just looks and feels more professional. So I'll leave you with this to think about. Now that you know how to build functions that are so much more adaptable, readable, and just plain powerful, what are you going to build with them? Go give it a try. Thanks for tuning in and happy coding.